Speaking of identity, Ed, Michael Voss had one as a player and he's now really gaining one as a coach. Here is Vossi after the Geelong loss last week.
I don't want us to settle that it was a good effort or it was close. It was unacceptable. And we've got to be better. Like we conceded whatever it was in terms of the score. I can't even know, 118 points. That's just too much. Sorry if you're a footy follower. I'm sure that was an entertaining game, but we didn't get some important moments right and we didn't defend when we need to for long enough.
You can make excuses for yourselves with injuries, Jimmy, being decimated and all these sorts of things, tough draws, but Vossi's not giving them an out. He sees them as a premiership chance this year.
I love it. He thinks he belongs at the pointy end of the ladder and you've got to compare yourself against the absolute best. And he did that straight after the game. The Cats were benchmark at the moment. They're on top of the ladder. Let's measure ourselves against that.
OK, boys, over to the Medallion Club. In the meantime, roll the videotape from Collingwood training because that's one of the first games we're going to have a look at here. And Jordan De Goey is out of the side this week. And I think also Damien Hill missed the following week against West Coast. It's the old dreaded osteitis pubis has raised its head. That's the talk. Believe he was a bit sore going in on Anzac Day. Got through the game. But the club thinking that sometimes these things can come on quickly and disappear quickly, and that's the hope. So he's out.
Tom Mitchell out as well, Ed.
Tom Mitchell's out, and also looks like Lockie Sullivan, who is an
aged debutant.
Will get his go in a big game against Carlton. Good luck, son. Over now to the Medallion Club.
The Coleman medal, the Norm Smith medal, Brownlow medal is Jimmy Bartel. Thank you, Lloyd.
What a game this is going to be, Jimmy. I'm already excited about it. 95,000 at the MCG on Friday night. Both teams travelling pretty well, but Carlton just slightly better. So it's a big game for Collingwood. And Carlton, they win games on clearances. And look at these rankings where they are big-bodied midfielders. They've got one after the other, and they rank one in this area. And it's where I'm concerned, Jim, for Collingwood, where they're beaten up by the Bombers.
Yeah, beaten up. Minus 34 points from stoppage, minus 3 goals from centre bounce, Lloydie. And it's all the positioning, and that's where it normally comes down to. We have a look at a centre bounce here really early in the third quarter or towards the end of the third quarter. And the starting positions, very experienced players, but watch Essendon just explode out the front. Stringer, very powerful against Mitchell there. Remember, there's no Mitchell and De Goey this week, so a bit thin. But you love the look of this one for the Bombers.
I love the shape, and you've got to be caught. They're not caught inside the contest, so they own the outside here, the Bombers. Stringer owns that outside. And watch the way Stringer and Cox, because you can always shove players under the ball if you get in behind your player. So there's Stringer, and then there's a Cox who's about to get on the outside. So I think Collingwood's shape isn't quite right. And now they lose Jordan De Goey and they're going to be challenged against a star-studded Carlton midfield, Jim.
Well, the advantage for me, for Collingwood, they take Geelong's model and it's that rebound off half-back. And Carlton, because they're good at stoppage and good at getting forward, they overcommit at different times. Williams comes ploughing in here after a kick, but look at the numbers out the back here for the Cats. Collingwood did this last week. They kicked 6 goals from their back 50, much like Geelong did against Carlton. And you get these easy goals. So Geelong kicked 7 goals from 15 metres out in between the point posts. So you don't miss many of those. You turn good entries, speed and tempo on the game. Johnny Noble steps inside. That's where I think Collingwood can get Carlton. Speed and tempo on the game, especially from the half-back line.
No doubt. Carlton want a clearance game. Collingwood want it out in the open space. Darcy Moore intrigues me this season. I think he can look good at times and can look really poor. So this is Anzac Day. When there's pressure on the ball, Darcy Moore is outstanding. He's still as good as there is when there's pressure on the ball. But I don't think he quite adjusts when there's not pressure on the ball. So here he is. I don't know what he's guarding there. And then there's his opponent, Peter Wright, gets hit up. So I think he has to adjust his positioning. Here is another one. This is late. This is a Kyle Langford miss late in the game. I'm not sure why he's guarding out wide on the boundary. You've got to sometimes go close. Players forget how to play on a man these days. And I think Darcy Moore, he does that a bit. So here's Langford. There's Darcy Moore. So I think he's got to tighten up at the right times.
You can be proactive, but you don't need to be 20 metres proactive. You already own that space. You don't need to own it by that much. Charlie Curnow, an absolute star of the game, full forward. Biggest kid, probably most athletic. Sometimes I feel like he gets stuck in these wrestles too much. Now, the kicks aren't great, so that's not always on Charlie. But I love when he gets on the move. He breaks free. His athleticism. He had Colin Jasny here. He just got caught in the wrestle. Maybe he thought he was just a bit bigger. He had Henry at different stages. But when he releases, there's not too many who can actually stay with him without giving away a free kick or have that explosive power off the mark. There we go. Come up on the lead a little bit earlier, which makes the defender think. And I love this. Gets off his direct opponent, launches at the footy at such a high point, it's almost impossible to stop.
All Carlton for me. I think they should be too strong. What about you?
I sit next to Ed, so I'm going to go Collingwood.
Collingwood? Just because of Ed, or you genuinely believe that?
I don't really believe it, but I'll just say it for Ed.
Well, about time somebody stepped Collingwood once. What about you?
I sit 2 down from you. I'm going for Carlton.
I
Ed,
don't
so.
think, it's like I'm intimidating these guys.
The Coleman medal, the Norm Smith medal, Brownlow medal is Jimmy Bartel. Matthew Lloyd.
Second place third at the SCG on Saturday afternoon. It's the Swans and the Giants. I cannot wait for this one as well. What a round we've got ahead of us, Jimmy. And it's the skill of the Sydney Swans versus the skill and the run of the GWS Giants. So they both have so many weapons. And this kicking of the Swans is just phenomenal.
Yeah, they take it off the line. That kick from Florent is ridiculous. And it's the way they both come off half-back and launch their attack. The Swans do it by kicking, shifting the attack. And when we get to the Giants, it's their ability through handball and speed and that overlap. The rosy cheek assassin, Finn Callahan off half-back here. Watch who bobs up again, bottom of the screen, gets it again, and then away they go. They shorten the opposition's defence, and again, you turn it into easy goals.
So how do you see this teams playing similar or not? Because they're both unbelievable by foot, both are amazing runners, and we're going to get to the intercept kings soon as well. How do you split these two?
Well, I think what they both do well in different ways is they get out of their back line really quick. Sides who are playing good footy at the top of the year, we highlighted the Cats a little bit before, is your speed to get out of the back line, but you can do that off turnover, and we've highlighted a couple of guys who can turn the footy over really well.
Well, again, so we're seeing strengths with how they move the ball, how they kick the ball, but also how they intercept mark the football. So the Giants have the best in the land, which is this man who's coming back this weekend, Sam Taylor.
Yes.
But then they've got some others as well that you'll talk through.
Connor Iden, who gets underrated a fair bit. Himmelberg, who's moved back. We know he can sit on heads at different times. And I think this guy is incredibly underrated. Jack Buckley, he took Joe Danaher last week, just kept forcing him under the footy, often gets the dirty jobs. And for the Swans, there's John Cougar, Melican there. We've got McCartan, the Lizard King here. They all just back themselves, but then it's their rebound off the back of it. All those small players that we mentioned, they just see these guys go in the air and just launch off it.
So they've got strengths everywhere, these two teams, and we want to look at where the game could be won and lost. So we're not going to look at the small backs of the Swans, but the small forwards of the Giants. How'd you sum it up?
Well, this is the surgeons. We just showed some of the highlights. They're going to try and pick you apart here. We know Lloyd's been doing it for quite some time. The Lizard gets up and running, but Florent, I think, has been improving out of side of half-back. And we've got some wheels on this side. A couple of these guys make your hamstrings hurt when you watch them play. They're going with so much speed. Darcy Jones, that's what he actually looks like. He's normally got the helmet on as well. And we know Harvey Thomas has come in the side. And these two guys, the senior players, really experienced with speed.
And the one we left off is a man who needs to find some form, and that is Toby Green. So he hasn't quite had the season he would have hoped for this season. So the stats look okay, but the impact is down. So he's down on his pressure. Goals is well down, and obviously his accuracy is down as well. But the last time they met, Jim, he did this.
Round 7, SCG, the last battle of the bridge. 20 touches, 4 goals, but with 50 seconds to go, he's kind of a guy you might want to pay attention to. Kicks through his 4th, the match winner, and look at that, the passion involved in the game.
I know I won't ask you for a tip because you're a Giants man. I think at the SCG I'm going to go with the Sydney Swans. Well, one plays 4, the other game. Geelong play Melbourne, and look at this scoring, the form line here. So this is my concern for Melbourne is they don't score enough. So Geelong averaged 99 points and Melbourne just 83 points in that regard. But you see the way Geelong are lengthening the field, Jim.
This is discipline, and I know Michael Voss spoke about learning off the best, and this is what Geelong do really well. Look at the movement from the forward lines. Guys are lengthening, and it's a real tell here. Carlton back to the footy, scrambling, can't help out, caught in no man's land. And you look at Dempsey up the top near you, pick which one you want to go to, and it's a very easy kick to make when they're all open inside forward 50. Picks danger on this occasion. Get the spare back, don't even worry about it. Discipline, lengthen, and it creates this huge big hole here, which Mark Blitzarves is one of the best at exposing. Very easy kick from a very good kicker in Myers here. That's how you play against the spare back, and you turn it again into easy goals.
Yeah, and this is how we're trying to work out how the matchups may pan out. Tommy Hawkins hasn't kicked a goal for 3 weeks. Who would you put Tomlinson to him or try and free up May, or is he too dangerous to do that too?
Stephen May had Tom Hawkins for over 100 minutes last time, kept him goalless, and that's the importance of Tom Hawkins. Yeah. You get a very good opponent, which then I think it leaves McDonald for Cameron, Henry on lever, and that'll be a fascinating aerial contest in itself.
And I loved how Marlon Pickett went after Christian Petrarca, so I'm doing it again. I think he's by far and away the most informed midfielder. So He's averaging 25 disposals, but last time in the match against the Tigers, for 63 minutes of game time, Pickett kept him to 15 disposals, and Mark O'Connor does a wonderful job and got Lachie Neale only a week or two ago.
Does a lot of the tough jobs and very disciplined. And what they love to do at the Cats is give player numbers who remind them of a player in the past. You know, you have a look at Max Holmes, very much like James Kelly. The next player I want to highlight, Zach Guthrie, the other Guthrie, who's been fantastic for the last 2 years. Where's number 39? Exactly like Darren Milburn, plays half-back, zones off. He had 4 intercept marks last week, filled the massive hole there of Tom Stewart, but he's just been so consistent over the last 2 years. Brave, ball use has improved. Just got to give him his props here. He's been excellent for the Cats.
Geelong think he's the most underrated player in the competition. I'm now with Damo. I'm not tipping against Geelong for the rest of the season, so I think they will beat Melbourne.
I'll go the Cats.
There you go. See, they're listening to you.
He didn't listen to me at the start of the year. He bagged me for saying they might make the grand final, Ed.
Oh, you're jumping on that one, are you?
No, I did at the start of the year.
Underlining it?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Fair enough. Okay.
Someone has to.
We'll take a break.